My name is Sister Tracey Dugas, and I am originally from Louisiana, and I am a daughter of St. Paul. I'm a perpetually professed member of my community. And the Daughters of St. Paul are a religious community that are international, so we're in many countries. We're in 52 nations. And here in the United States, we have about 15 communities. So I live in Metairie, Louisiana, and with a community of about 4 other sisters. And I've been in the congregation for a while, so I've been through the initial stages of formation. I actually met the sisters in Metairie, so I have a big connection to our community here, but actually this is the first time in my religious life that I get to live in my home state as a religious sister. So it's been a great year. I've been here a year, and it's a beautiful experience of living in New Orleans as a sister. And growing up, I grew up in South Louisiana, but not in New Orleans. So this adds a new flavor to my sense of being Cajun and from the deep South. So. My religious vocation, I think the seeds of it, we receive our vocation from the moment we're conceived. We just don't know it, and the Lord walks with us in a journey to help us discover what that calling is. I grew up in a religious family in that we went to Mass. We went to Sunday Mass, and the Catholic faith was something that was just in the culture. It's what Cajuns do. It's how we are. It's how we live. So I grew up, around the faith, but kind of more of as a cultural thing. My family and I remember growing up, and my mom teaching me to pray. So I remember kneeling down before going to bed at night, and just really having that sense that God was part of who we were. And but it didn't really connect to me personally. I think as a kid you have this natural sense of God, like there's this part of you that God's around, He takes care of you, and there was something, even if you go through stuff as a kid, that like somehow I just knew there's something in me that's good, that's special, that's real. You don't know what to call it, but it's in there. And when I was 8, it was the second day of school, I was walking back from class to my homeroom, and 2 boys were running, and they ran into me, and I ended up with a subdural hematoma, concussion, this major issue, right? And my family came to the school, and it turned out that I needed major head surgery. My brother says, yeah, you became a nun because you fell on your head, But it's always been kind of a joke that I am the way I am because I fell on my head. But I had this experience waking up out of the surgery with my mom like really intently over me, waiting for me to wake up and asking me if I remembered who she was. And it was like somehow the magnitude of what happened hit me. As an 8-year-old, I realized like I could have died, but for some reason I didn't. And in my own little 8-year-old mind and heart, I remember feeling very close to God, and almost like He's going, I got your back, And I just knew that even if my parents couldn't protect me from everything, because I was kind of a scared kid, that He would be there. And I think of that as like a seed of that relationship that He always wanted with me. But life goes on. I would try to pray, but my prayers were like the auctioneer Hail Marys. Like I could get them done real fast, And my brother and I would kind of have contests who could say the Hail Mary faster. So that was kind of the nature of my praying. But as a teenager, again, I started to question all the things that I thought would be, because I think the biggest calling I felt was, what's going to bring me true joy, true happiness out of all the things I could choose to do and to be. Because, you know, as a teenager, you're sort of negotiating, what kind of person am I? Am I going to be a troublemaker? Am I going to be cool? Am I going to be funny? You know, so in all of that kind of discernment, I guess, not that I knew that word, but I was trying to be attentive to those things that gave me life. And I remember just loving to have a good time, loving to laugh, yes, making trouble, but ultimately just wanting to set my heart on something lasting. And I tried other things, you know. I mean, one of my greatest objectives in life was, you know, all my friends were going, oh, what am I going to do after I graduate? Maybe I'm going to do this, become a doctor. I was like, man, all I want is a job at the mall. I was like, I want a job at the mall so I get a really good discount at the Gap, you know. I mean, that was like my aspiration in high school. And so it was sort of like holding that, which was very passing, very temporal. And yet I had this like hunger inside of me that no great outfit would feed for any length of time, you know. No boyfriend, not even a group of friends, which I'd set my heart on these things, and then they would just sort of disappoint me or just leave me high and dry. And it was in one of these like turmoil moments, you know. I think God brings us to the desert in Scripture. Well, He brings us to the desert in real life too. And sometimes when we're stripped of all the things that we lean on, we then can let ourselves ask the painful, hard questions like, what do I really want, you know? So it was one of these moments where me and my friends had a falling out. You know, we'd go and act crazy on weekends, and I had just been there, done that, got the T-shirt, good, you know, I'm on to other things, and they kind of weren't. So I made a decision to stay home, which was like earth-shattering as a 16-year-old. And I was watching TV, and there was a nun in a movie. And it was a detective movie. The whole storyline of the movie was sort of like, I don't even get it. But it wasn't Sister Act. Everybody's like, is that Sister Act? Was it Whoopi Goldberg? Like, no. But it was just this image that, as I'm an art brain, like I'm really captured by images. So somehow God just knew that about me, and He just put this image of this woman who, it was more the I don't know philosophy too well, but it wasn't like the specific nun, it was the idea of a nun, the nunness that got me. And I was like, what would make a young person, a young woman, let go of everything that this world has to offer and hang on so that she could hang on to God so strongly? Like, how could she do that? What would happen to a person? But it was sort of like this, distant idea. But again, it was like God was taking that seed, that kernel that He had planted there, and He was like shaking it up a little. He was like, He's nudging it and poking at it. And so I started to just ask questions and go places. Like I'd ask priests, what does it mean to be a nun? I'd ask these really basic questions. I felt stupid, but I would ask. And then I started reading. And in the midst of all that time, I went on retreats more. And I was starting to pray more. And I was dating a Baptist boy. And he was like the love of my life. And I remember telling my mom, he really loved Jesus. This is like everything. And one of the things that when we would talk, for me, faith was religion. And when I talked to him and he'd talk about how he would pray, it was like faith was relationship. And I remember thinking, I want that. I want that too. I want to be able to relate to God in a way that's like amazing, like real. So all of that was sort of coming together. And I met this young woman who was thinking of becoming a nun, and she was like, Exhibit A. I wanted to talk to Exhibit A. I was like, can I talk to you? Because I have all these questions. So I'm asking her all these things, these basic things about what does it mean to be a nun, and what does it mean to be a sister? What's the difference? Is there a difference? Do you pray all the time? What do you do? How do you live without a guy? You know, all these things that 17, 16-year-old wants to know. And as she's answering me, I could feel my heart just like calming down, and all these questions just sort of like God again going, I got this. I got you. You're going to be okay. Just trust me. So I sat with that experience of talking to her and just let it, you know, fall into place in my life. I was still trying to hold all these things together, because you don't want to let go of something forever and then you go, oh, what did I let slip through my hands, you know, through my fingers, my friends, my boyfriend, what, I gotta, you know, keep this all going. So I didn't know how to like let go. And about 3 weeks later, I get this phone call, and it's this young lady, and she's like, you know, I went to this retreat. I didn't meet you, but I know you were there. And she says, I want to talk to you because I want to invite you to come with me to visit some religious, because I think you must be interested in religious life, because you were talking to Angie, who was a young woman who was going to be a nun. And I thought I was totally being like hidden about talking to this girl. I was hiding with her. I went into a side room with a door and I closed it before I talked to her, and she saw this whole thing, and I'm thinking, you stalker? What are you doing watching me, you know? So she sees me, she gets my phone number, and she invites me to visit a religious community. And at first I was like, no, that's too much, too fast, it's not for me. But then I thought, what could I lose? So I did. I visited, and it was the Daughters of St. Paul here in Metairie. And, you know, all of my stereotypes and ideas were just like blown to bits when I met the nuns, because they were talkative and they were funny. They were all unique. They were very comfortable with each other. And I just had this idea that they were all like uptight, and I don't know what I thought. So I felt at home. I didn't understand the mission. I didn't understand the prayer life that they explained in that first meeting, but I got them. I got that they were really passionate about the Lord, about what they were doing, and so I got to know them more. And I joined the community about 2 years later. So, and in that process, visiting, you know, my parents didn't know what was going on, really. Like, one day I'm dating, the next day I'm visiting nuns, and then I'm dating again, and then, you know. But it's funny, when I talk to my parents now, they're like, yeah, we didn't get it, but, and I remember my mother saying this to me, because I was worried, you know. I was like, how are you taking this? I was a senior in high school. And she says, you know, we can see that you're happy. That's what we want. We didn't know what would bring you that, but we can see for ourselves that you are. So we're not going to take that away from you. We're not going to say you can't do that, because we don't understand it. So